And we're live. Welcome, everybody. People are tuning in already. Here it is. I've got the picture up. Look, the lovely guest. I have Goddess. Goddess. No, it's Goddess. Goddess Starla Vamp. I'm just putting more A's in than are needed. And Wendy Bonbons as well. Hello. Hello, beautiful people. Hello to the beautiful people who are out there. Say hello. Tell us where you're watching from. I'm going to be pouring my drink at this point. Because I didn't get it done, but this is a nice sound. Oh, that's a good sound to get started with. Hello. So how have you two been? It's been a little while. Well, Wendy, I saw you earlier today, a part of the Cosmic Bonbons show. Thank you for having me on that.
Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Always my pleasure. Goddess, how have you been? I haven't seen you since just before Christmas.
Pretty good. Just hiding away. It's winter.
It's winter in Montreal, and it's beginning to show like winter in Montreal. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's not as pleasant a noise, but it's a. And yourself, Wendy, how have you been?
I've been good. I just finished a little show in between shows, so I think I still have pie on me, but that's all right.
All right, so it's three shows tonight for you.
Yes, it's a good Sunday.
It's a good Sunday. There we are. It's good that we all have sunny days, and we have tons of questions in already. Nice. We've got. Let's. Should we just jump right back into it? For those of you who are not familiar, the Love Doctor Livestream is a show where we answer your questions about love, sex, and relationships. You can either ask them directly in the chat, or if you wish to be anonymous, you can go to slido.com, and the event code is TLD206, because this is episode 6 of season 2 of the Love Doctor Livestream. And we've got a comment coming in here right now. Steve Efron saying, greetings from Manhattan, locked down, but not in a particularly pleasurable way. There we are. I know it's happening here in Montreal as well. There's a curfew. It clicks in an hour, so it's or less than an hour. So it's $6,000 fine if you're caught outside. But they have said you're allowed to walk your dog. There was a
real dogs, not men dogs.
That's
and
what
people
happened.
Have tried that.
They did try that. They tried that here. It was there was a couple that was out walking with the husband on all fours and wearing a leash, and I don't know what else, but they ended up getting fined, and they tried to contest it that she was out walking her dog. So didn't quite
I love
work.
that for them.
It is Montreal.
It's worth the fine, isn't it?
You know what? The press would probably be great. It'd be, it'd be.
It's an expensive bit of fun.
YouTube,
if you can afford it.
Exactly. Well, if you can afford it, YouTube advice columnist, it's fine for being walked. All right. Martin Boulien, forgive me for pronouncing that wrong. Good evening from the Great White North. Good evening, Martin. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Welcome to the show. We have we have questions. Should we get at the questions?
Yeah.
All right. Here we are. How might I encourage more dominant tendencies in my wife if it does not come naturally? Wendy, you are in the hot seat, so you get to answer this one first.
I think a conversation is a good place to start, because if somebody doesn't naturally have a dominant way about them, maybe it might be more about increasing how you approach it as more of a submissive person. Somebody doesn't always need to have a very strong sense of dominance to have more of a that type of dynamic. So conversation's a great place to start. Maybe there's little things that you can incorporate into your day-to-day routines that might not be so intimidating for somebody who's new or not naturally more dominant.
Boom. Good answer. We have Goddess Starla Vamp. I guess that sort of means that you might have a bit more insight, or
I have some advice. a lot of it is scenario based, and it can be hard to come up with creative ideas. So do some brainstorming, look on the internet, look at other fetish videos that are out there, and come up with ideas and scenarios that your wife can kind of fit into the role. So whether it's domestic or whether you're going out and doing some like public playing or something like that, have ideas and scenarios already set up so that she can understand the role that she's going into, and also to have her watch the videos and get inspired by other women or even Hollywood movies, just or indie movies. Just that kind of inspiration of other people's personalities and mimicking it, because it can be hard to look for dominance in yourself because it's theatrical.
Very good. Both of you covered some of the best stuff in there. And the fact is, like, treat it as a role-playing exercise, obviously. Have the conversation, but also let them be aware of the things that you like. So if a person loves you, they're going to try to do the things that you like. So try to express when they do stuff that turns you on, and then maybe afterwards have a post-mortem sort of thing saying, I really like this, but I found that a little wasn't as enjoyable for me. How did you feel about it? And again, so it just comes down to communication again. And we get Denis Leger is popping in to say hi everyone. So we get the cute little cat face is back. Denis, it's been a little while since you've watched live, so welcome. And is there any more discussion that we need on that question, or?
I feel like I should have been taking notes. I'm gonna come back to this and rewatch it.
That's what it's there for. It's up online on the YouTube channel. So
I think it can just be hard to naturally want to be dominant and angry and controlling, because it's not, you're trying to create a spark that comes from nothing. So but in response to something, like it's better to get inspired, because then it comes from a good place, and you don't ever want to draw dominance from a toxic place or a bad place, or genuinely be like, you didn't put the toilet seat down, I'm angry about, like, something more fabricated, because you don't want it to come from actual pinpoints in a relationship, because that can be toxic. So
exactly. And one of the things that can scare people who are not familiar with DS relationships is, though the dominant has the appearance of control, the submissive has a lot of control in the fact that they have the power of the safe word. They can stop it at any time. It is sort of the submissive that allows or focuses where the boundaries will be. So some people don't want to be a dominant because they don't like to be mean, but you're not being mean if you're doing the thing that the person wants. Just say that, but just
boom.
Can top from the bottom.
Topping from the bottom. And
submissives, they can be aggressive. So it's a relationship, and you need open communication, like any relationship.
Communication. It always comes down to the communication. Steve Efron saying, a curious but sincere question. How has the term slave been purged from the dominant submissive vocabulary, or is it still okay in certain contexts? Oh, this I'm not a goddess. You are in the hot seat, so we'll let you take that.
The word slave is still alive and well within that fantasy world. I think it is a fantasy, and it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but I do understand it politically can be sensitive. But as long as things are respectful, then it's a playful word, but a very loaded word.
Wendy, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, as far as I've I've experienced, and as far as I'm aware, it's still like a very common word that's used. But I feel like if there's boundaries and trigger words that people have, a lot of times as part of the discussion that you need to have going into the scenario. If that's not like a term that you're comfortable with, hopefully a lot of times you'll have that discussion and let it be known.
Boom. Communication is key. As I had not heard that people were staying away from that. I know, not to yuck anyone's yum, but race play as a play scenario has been given a lot of pressure recently, and I can see why. But the thing is, if it's not for you and the people who are doing it are consenting and caring for each other, then it's just play, and it doesn't. It's only when somebody tries to treat somebody like that in. It's about to say in real life, outside of play, then that is when it's dangerous. So, but thank you, Steve, for the thought provoking question. Do you have any follow up thoughts? I'm not sure, because I unloaded a can of worms right when I answered.
But that word does deserve to go there. And people have asked me to do racial play that I wasn't comfortable with. There are certain things that I won't do. And the word slave, it's scary. It's really scary. Because people in reality, they, of course, do get into these situations. And it's not just a thing throughout history. It's a very real thing. So this concept, it's very dangerous. But if people are being playful and can create a fantasy out of free will, then it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing.
Exactly. It is. There's a lot of words are just noises, and they only have meaning because we have a shared history with those particular noises. Slave has a lot of negative connotations through history. If somebody is playing with the word, what happens between two consenting adults or more consenting adults is no business of anyone except for them. So, yeah, not to yuck anyone's yum, but we can definitely see why it is a loaded thing, and having your own boundaries is good as well. And sticking to your boundaries is great. So let's see if I can do this right. All right. What's the best? I think that's supposed to be best. What's the best way to divide my attention with more than one lover at a time? All right. I'm in the hot seat for this one. If you have more than one lover at a time, you're lucky. Just make sure that everyone is being pleased. Nothing is sadder than seeing someone sitting beside, it's supposed to be a threesome and having somebody sitting and watching. Everybody should be being paid as much attention as they want. If everybody, when you're talking about group sex, everybody should be interested in everybody else. This is something that I believe in. Everybody should be attempting, like, if not everyone is interested in everyone else, then there has to be the fulcrum of that really has to be a damn good multitasker. And we're talking above Oprah level. That's I've always used that as an example. Good multitasking, but always give your partners all the attention that they deserve. You should not be focusing on yourself. Too many people who are looking for three-ways or are looking mainly just to have themselves pleased, when that should not be the case. You should be looking to please multiple partners. Goddess Starla.
I think it's something that you shouldn't think about too much or worry about too much, and just go with the natural flow, find the rhythm, and because there might be points where there is a person kind of sitting off and just watching, but then later being involved. But I think it's something I wouldn't overthink.
Well said. And Wendy.
I think, yeah, just going in the moment is great, but also no, like just being conscious and mindful of everyone that's around you. Um, I think it's some people are into watching, some people are into being more involved, but just being mindful of what everybody would like to be doing is great. Checking in, that's always fantastic to do, and just make sure everyone's having a good time. You don't want to have anybody feel left out, but you know what? Not everybody has to be doing something all the time.
Well said. Everybody sort of jumped on me a little bit for saying that one person's sitting off to the side. Oh, only if they're sitting off to the side in a sad way.
Voyeurism.
No,
Cuckolding. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
We
we
know
have
what
so
you
many
mean.
ways of pleasing our partners and focusing on one person is great on one-on-one sex. But to be, if you're with multiple people, showing you that you are with them and caring for them, be it with your hands, your mouth, your sex organs, or just in contact with them, is such an easy thing to do, and it shows part of your caring. And making sure that they are enjoying themselves is another way of showing that you are caring. And I think there should be more caring in sex, even in like good high energy sex. You can still show that you care.
I think also too, if you're the person who's less engaged or you feel a little left out, I wouldn't
Hmm.
feel too bad about it, because sometimes people, they just make a connection and they have more of a chemistry, and or maybe they're already a couple and you're sort of like added on. Um Even if you are sort of the odd man out, that's okay, and I think it's not something to be jealous about. It's just it's an experience, and you walk away with that and try to
Yeah.
find um, the best concepts out of it.
It's also, it could be the person is a bit more of a voyeur, and so they want to watch, and that's perfectly fine as well. Uh, but the thing is, there's so many positions that benefit three people that you can't do with two. Uh, um, like
And then maybe you're not as engaged in
what's
that
happening?
threesome, but you can walk away with more experience and take that to your next threesome or foursome. Take the daisy chain and to the next thing. you
Exactly,
know?
and so on and so on.
So,
It's
yeah.
like a shampoo commercial from the 80s. Uh, there we go. Uh,
I miss
let's
that
go to the actual
commercial.
poll questions at this point. We have to start at the bottom with these ones. And how might I encourage a more? Oh, that we've already had that on the other side. So let's go to the next question. When you are in a long distance relationship, who should pay to refill the gas tank? All right. That is, if you're in a long distance relationship, who should pay to refill the gas tank? Wendy, you're in the hot seat.
Whoever can when it's convenient. Who cares? Just whatever it takes to get you to the next place. I don't think that should be a huge factor if you want someone to come see you. I know sometimes money can be hurting, especially like right now. But if you want them to get to you, you got to work together financially too to get things moving.
Boom. What Wendy has said, there's nothing that I can add. That's the perfect answer. It doesn't matter who does.
He should.
Sexist.
Buy me a sandwich on the way. No. No, just work it out. Sometimes someone's in a better financial situation than the other, and but you don't want it to be an issue where if one person is paying for everything, then it turns into resentment or something like that. But if it's your car, you're responsible for filling it up. But that's a conversation that's different for everybody.
Boom. I think everybody had good answers on that. My boyfriend likes to fart on me. He says it's a sign of affection. I think it's gross. Is he too immature for me? Goddess Starla.
Maybe. If you're not cool with it, that could be a turn off. If you have to keep explaining that it makes you uncomfortable, yeah, it's a turn off, and that's on him. So, hmm.
Wendy.
Yeah, if you say you don't want someone farting on you, I understand like accidents happen. Sometimes you're really comfy and you just like you stir yourself awake with a fart. It happens. It's okay. But like not all the time. Don't be at it all the time. As mentioned, yeah, it is a really big turn off. And also like sometimes people just don't need to smell you in all that way.
Boom.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. And it also comes down to a level of respect. Because if it's something that, oh no, I just realized I'm guilty of something. All right, it comes down to boundaries. If you've expressed that you don't want it to ever happen again, and then they do it again, then they're not respecting you and your boundaries at that point. I all right, confession time. Tickling. I have a I've been with somebody who doesn't like to be tickled, but I'd like occasionally just to threaten with the tickle to see them tense up. Am I crossing a line? Is that being too immature as well? I'm sitting for your judgment on this one because I think the fart one is a bit worse, but that just could be my morality of where farts should belong. So I don't know if that was the right way to say that, but
Farts are worse, I would say. Maybe, I think that's a forgivable thing. It's not like it's a tickle, but it could just be like a turn off, like because there's immature cute and immature like, oh man,
farting
it
on them.
feels like nails on a chalkboard or something. But I think it's personality specific to like, do little shenanigans and things like that. So I don't think you're that guilty.
All right, all right. Wendy, do you have any thoughts?
I think it depends on how far you push it. I know from experience, I am also very guilty of that. But I also know it causes terror sometimes when you don't know when to stop. And I am one of those people that has a hard time understanding the boundary of when you have to stop the tickles. So I think that it can be a little bit too much, but you should listen. Don't be like me and listen to when somebody says no, especially with the tickles.
Do either of you have older siblings?
No.
Yes.
Okay, Wendy, when you were younger, did your older siblings used to just tickle you? Like tickle you so bad?
There were terrors, yes.
All right. Did it ever get to the point where you had to say stop, stop, or I'll pee?
It came to a few different points, but not the pee, no.
All right. Because if it ever gets to that point and they don't stop, that's a weird way to find out what they're into. Just say
Oh
it.
my goodness.
All right. That was a joke. It's okay. It's meant as a joke.
Oh no.
Oh no! All right. We're moving off from the joke, and we're going to the next question. How would you describe the desire for sex? Is it an emotion, a bodily function, or like a hunger? And the hot seat. It's me. All right. There is the genetic drive to reproduce, but I believe the desire for sex is like a hunger. But at the same time, you're not going to starve to death if you don't have it. So you have some control over it. So it's not something that anyone owes you. It's something that you have the ability to share with others. So both of you can eat in the idea of fulfilling that hunger. Love is an emotion. Lust is, I think, more or less the hunger. That would be, I think, the best way to describe it. Goddess Starla.
I like the word urge,
Urge.
which is like a hunger, but you can have like an emotional urge. I also like the word connection. So looking for some kind of, but I guess that's more of an emotion, some kind of a connection with someone, a sexual connection. And it might not be so lustful, but it can be tender. um, and after you have these experiences, I think you start, okay, I'm going to use the word appetite. You start to get an appetite for it. Like I know in fetish, I have a lot of relationships where I make connections with people, and it's not that it's very sensual. So, and I find that I crave that kind of sensuality, very soft and drawn out kind of teasing. So I guess that's emotional, but you start to look for that and want to repeat that again and crave that.
Boom. I think that's very well said. Wendy.
I think it's kind of a primal thing, in my opinion. I think that like I like that you said the word urge, because now I like that one too. But yeah, it is kind of like just a need, but it'll always kind of be there, you know. And I know that people don't necessarily need to engage with it, but or not, you know, not everybody will have that desire, because that is very possible. But you know, people do need touch and affection in some way, shape, or form, you know, even as children, we need that growing up. So I do think it is something that's very vital to us, but not necessarily, it doesn't always have to be so physical.
There we are. It's love doesn't need to be physical, but I think the question was more for the desire for sex, and so there's definitely the urge and the hunger there. Sensuality, I think, is separate from sex. It can be included with sex, but sensuality, caring, physical contact, I think, just my take on it. We're all right. We're good. Oh, okay. Just I'm getting used to the nods. Just making sure that everybody here is involved. We have the next question. Oh, the next question is targeted. It is, hi Wendy. I was wondering where you get your makeup because you always look stunning on this show. Wendy,
Oh
I guess you
no.
have the hot seat, and we'll give Goddess Starla a chance to answer as well.
Yeah, I'm just getting stuff from shoppers and like hoping I pick something that's probably cruelty free, and I probably should have researched more. I'll be honest with you. Um, I don't even know what brand this lipstick is. Hopeless, hopeless. Maybe we'll get better answers over here. We'll pass it along.
All right, and for those in Quebec, Shoppers is Farmer Pre.
Oh, thank you.
My makeup's tattooed, so.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lipstick as well, or
No, this is a cover girl. It's some kind of it stays for a long time. I forget what it's called, but the shade is Ever Ready.
boom. All right, and this is age. That's all there is to it. No one's asking me for my beauty tips. Very, very obvious. Steve has another comment coming in. Here in Manhattan, we're accustomed to working this stuff out in therapy, but I'll ask it here. We're glad to be helpful as your quasi therapists, not truly legally licensed therapist. What does wishing to be a submissive in sex play say, if anything, about one's personality in general? I have this one first, and I'm gonna say, Steve, I don't think there is a commonality between all people who like to be submissive. I don't think there's a blanket statement that will cover it. What it means about your personality is that you enjoy submissive play, and that's fine. Now, Goddess.
I would say, like, out of my experience, it's willing to experiment with vulnerability. Because like I've played as a submissive too, and it's just wanting to learn and explore and be curious and just learn things outside myself, and willing to go into uncomfortable places, pseudo dangerous places, but not in a self-destructive way or self-sabotaging way, but willing to take risks. And I think it's
Role
for the
played.
purpose of expanding your mind. In like getting the most out of your senses, and having an engaged experience with your body. So just pushing your limits, but doing it from a place where you still have free will.
Boom. That is a great answer. Wendy.
Yeah, I don't think it says one thing about like everybody as a whole, but I do know that like it's just more of a, it says that you're, I guess, a curious person, curious to explore more about yourself. But I know like there's so many stereotypes that I've heard from, the typical person who's really uptight in the office, but will be like really submissive in bed. And I don't really think that always plays true. I think it's just more of a scenario that you'll see in movies or like hear about in jokes or something. But I don't think there's necessarily one thing that will kind of describe like that will say something about if you're submissive or not with your personality. It'll be different for everybody, because you may start out as somebody who's interested in being submissive and learn more about yourself and realize you're more of a dominant person, or that may evolve into something else for you. So I don't necessarily think it would mean one thing.
Boom. I really enjoyed Goddess Starla's comment about the fact that you are a person who's willing to explore vulnerability. And I realize how, thinking back, that's very true of some people that I have known. There's also some people who explore it because they don't see their own self-worth. And they think that is what they deserve, which is...
I think well, if you want to deconstruct what masochism really is, well, I guess we could be here for a while if we try to do that. But yeah, because sometimes
thumbnail version?
yeah, I think sometimes people are looking for masochism or looking for pain just to validate, not validate their existence, but to just feel alive or understand their own body, or in a way like that's what you deserve because you want to remember that you're alive. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. There's people who also like to assuage their guilt over something else. There's also people who feel like the only way they can prove their worth to a partner would be, through submitting to them, which may not be entirely healthy.
Right. Yeah.
But that does not mean that these lifestyles are unhealthy. If treated well, Steve is balancing theirs with therapy, and making sure that you're having open communication and there is respect between you and your partner or partners. Does that fit with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. We get questions that are coming in. Great. This is perfect. All right. Do you think people deserve a second chance after cheating on someone? Do you think people deserve a second chance after cheating on someone? That goes to Wendy first.
I think it depends on the scenario and depends on how you feel about it. Some people are very, uncomfortable with letting somebody back in after breaking such a bounds of trust. Other people may be a little more forgiving and understanding. I guess, again, it depends on the scenario. There are lots of different situations that may arise. Like, for example, I know a lot of people have been separated and going through wild bounds with their relationships during the last few years with the pandemic. A lot of people who I've been speaking to who have long distance relationships have really been put to the test. And it's been sometimes, up to 6 months to a year. You can work out different things happen. But I think that it very much so depends on the circumstance and how you feel about it. No one should be really forced to accept somebody back in once their trust has been broken. And you don't really have to worry too much about spending a lot of time with somebody that you don't trust. I don't think that's a good way to start a relationship or be in a relationship, in my own opinion. So yes, that's my answer.
True. Perfectly valid answer. I would have to say people don't deserve a second chance, but if they can prove the remorse, and if they can prove that they are changed and they are honest about it, and you believe them, then I think I don't think I love the idea of redemption, and if a person can redeem themselves, that's great. But they need to have that change within themselves, and the questions as to why they were cheating need to be addressed. And I think no one deserves to be automatically accepted back after cheating. But you can accept someone back if you feel that their apology and is sincere enough and their actions match what they are saying they're doing. Got a Starla.
I wouldn't feel, because, well, there's so many different circumstances and different ways of cheating, and how many times for how long, because you can get into patterns where the guy is running around all the time and just fabricating the relationship, and that can be very deceptive. But there is like a situation where maybe he cheated once and didn't create like a path of deception, and came clean about it right away and discussed it and said, like, if it can be worked out, that sort of thing. But if it happened once, it's most likely to happen again, and you have to decide if it's worth it. Like if there are kids involved, things like that, then maybe it's worth working on the relationship. But in like when you're monogamous, that's not the deal. So, but it's just up to your own. It's your decision.
Now, this is not just a monogamous only problem. People who are in open relationships or polyamorous relationships, usually they will state clearly what the rules are. And people can cheat by breaking those rules as well. So again, it comes down to the discussion and the sincerity of the cheater on their desire to change their past practices. And that's what I think is key. And I think we all sort of addressed part of that in our answers. Anything to add?
I think it makes a big difference how you find out about it. Because if it's coming from, I'm just assuming it's a him. If it's coming from the person who cheated, that's one thing. But if you hear it from someone else or from the other person that they cheated with, that's something else. So,
or catch them, etc.
Yeah.
No. All right. Our next question. My New Year's resolution is to work out more. Does having sex burn enough calories to be considered a workout? Starla.
Yes.
Boom. Wendy.
Yes.
If you do it right, yes. So there we are. Join us for our next workout tape. What? That'd be a wonderful workout tape, wouldn't it? Oh wait, they have those. Those are porn. All right. Let's see the next question. This newest round of the pandemic saw my girlfriend being laid off. She used to be a vibrant, bubbly, happy ball of energy. Now she sleeps a lot, barely showers, and doesn't even want to go for walks. I'm really worried about her. Please help guide me in the right direction because I don't know what to do. I'm in the hot seat first. This sleeps a lot. There is the some of the things, like the refusing to shower, not wanting to go outside, sleeping a lot. Those are three symptoms of depression, and it could be like the pandemic depression. A lot of people are suffering from depression and anxiety because of the pandemic and how long it's been going on, how work has been on and off, on and off. I think you need to make sure that you talk with your partner and let them say their fears and listen. And this is one of these questions, one of these conversations that you should preface by saying, do you need me to listen or do you need me to fix things? Because just listening in itself can be very good. And sometimes your partner doesn't want you to suggest solutions, but they need to know that you are mentally and emotionally close to them. So sit with them, listen with them, hold them if you can. Just make sure that they feel listened and listened to, and make sure that you can give them and give of them the hope for the future that is beginning to fade right now. So please take care of the people in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be your partner, but a lot of people are going through these things. And it's okay because we are here for each other. Goddess Starla.
I can appreciate that you're worried about her, but it's really understandable. I mean, I know so many people, myself, I sleep way more than I have like my whole life. It's I think it's a survival response too, and we're encouraged to not be circulating and seeing other people. And I think even going for a walk, it's winter, it's cold. Uh, I think if you want to see that ball of energy, you have to decide, come up with ideas that you can do as a couple together, or like, and it doesn't have to be a walk, or maybe you can play a board game or something. Just come up with ideas together that are gonna engage you. And everybody's struggling with this, and it's psychologically been really devastating and hard. So I wouldn't worry too much about her, but it's good that you're concerned.
Boom. Definitely shows care.
I feel like I'm a little like biased when I'm coming at this question because my depression kicked my ass when this whole pandemic started, and it continues to like just come back and kick my ass more and more. But I find a lot of people around me who have struggled with that side of it, letting me, work through my own things, work through things with my therapist or my doctor, or go through the ups and downs of medication. I don't know what circumstance this person has, like in their own medical history, but there's lots of text lines out there and lots of helplines that you can call, not just for yourself, but to get support with other people's mental health as well, because I feel like sadness is kind of contagious sometimes. And when you see someone around you feeling, if you notice that they're not necessarily themselves, sometimes you can just become hyper focused on that, and you don't really necessarily see a lot of the happy things around you because you're so focused on making sure that they're okay. But a part of them being okay is you being okay. So if you're feeling that you're worried about this person, other than just checking in with them and letting them know that you're there, you can also find comfort in like getting professional support. And there's lots of free lines you can call. I'm like always talking up the crisis text responder line because sometimes it's hard to say things out loud. Sometimes you don't want to, like, if you're in a situation where you're in the same house, so maybe you don't want to call somebody and be like talking about this on the phone that you're worried about your partner, but there's ways out there that you can get support to help support them. part of being healthy in a relationship is keeping yourself mentally healthy and physically healthy too. So just, keep in mind of that fact. Keep yourself healthy and give them space to work through the emotions that they have to, but know that if things get really bad, that you can get support and you're not going to be alone in that.
Boom. I think we've covered the bases with that fairly well, and there's the support that is out there. It is understandable that people are going to feel depression at this point in time. Steve has another question here. We could always use some more questions. You can go to the Slido and use, you know what? I didn't leave the Slido just running along the bottom. There it is. So if people need to find the Slido, it's right at the bottom. The common wisdom has it that men are thinking of sex during the normal day far more frequently than do women. Is that actually true? If so, what accounts for it? All right. We're going to Wendy on that one first. Wendy, what is your thoughts on that statement?
I think women definitely think about sex just as much as men. I think that there's just way more stereotypes of men just being daydreaming all day about sex and not really thinking about anything else. But in that same stretch, I know a lot of women who will just be at their desk thinking about the last time that they've had a really good hookup too. So it's not just the men. It's not just the men.
I'm going to second that. I've been very lucky with there's women I've dated who think about sex more than I do, which is fun. But definitely, I think there's no. I don't think there's any gender that thinks about sex more than any other gender. Well, with the exception of asexuals, are not. But that's an orientation. At this point, people are people. Women might at one time have been not as likely to admit it due to societal pressure, which I think was kind of evil. But let's try to keep balancing everything. Goddess Starla.
I'm not going to say either thinks about sex more. Some people have a higher sex drive. And so some people, they have a high sex drive because a lot that they talk about is sex. So that is on their mind. And it's sort of like in a group of friends, sometimes who has the highest sex drive because they're always talking about sex. They're always dating someone or always chasing after someone.
And if you don't know who it is, it's you.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say men necessarily think about sex. And well, yeah, it's hard to get into the heads of both sides, I'd say.
Agreed. I think it's a thing that is out there, Steve. But I think, the common wisdom on this case is wrong. And it's down to the individual, not just the gender.
My discovery over the years has been that people can have a lot more sex or a higher sex drive than I understand. And that's from after talking to guys who will jerk off maybe 3 times a day. And you wouldn't think someone has the time to jack off so much, but some people do, and that's a high sex drive. So everybody's different, and it's just about managing your sex drive. There's a song that I like by Tricky, and he says, "What are you going to do with your sex drive?" Because it's a question. So
good answers all around. We have a number of questions left, but we could always do with more. But the show here is being run entirely with your donations. So if you care to donate to the show, you can go to Linktree or linktr.ee/Paul Ash. That's my manager. And there's a link there that says buy me a drink. So you can donate to the show. Everything that comes in there will be split evenly between all 3 performers you're seeing on the screen here. So please think about donating to the show because that offsets the costs of running the show and making sure that people can find us out there and have this entertainment as well. Yes, and Constantine Cortitis is saying donate. There we are. Donate. Thank you, Constantine. And now we have our next question is, can love be sustained if it's not practiced and nurtured? Goddess Starla.
I'm going to say yes. Nurtured. Well, love, that's such a big abstract term. Because sometimes you just love somebody or love something, but love somebody and years can go by and you still love them and you don't know why. So I think it can be a very unexplainable thing. And I've had conversations with people who they say that you don't choose love and it just happens. And I think sometimes you just don't choose who you love. And that might not be nourished, or things might be more one-sided, and there's no science to it. So,
Wendy.
I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be fully engaged and to be there. I think that Goddess definitely covered a lot of it, so I'm gonna stick with that.
thanks for calling me
I
Goddess.
tried to sneak a sip in, and
I just like saying it. I'm sorry. I'm
you.
sorry.
I got faked out. All right. Yes, saying Goddess Starla Vamp. By the way, Goddess Starla Vamp, just because I forgot to put it up a moment ago, on Instagram, all one word, Goddess Starla Vamp. There we are. And I you know what? I'm going to say it depends on the type of love. Like I have friends that I may not have talked to for 10 years, but if they called me up and asked me to help them move, I'd be there. Right? There's that kind of love that you have. But I think to have a strong and emotional love that is shared between people, they need to make sure that they are communicating with each other. I think there is nurture. Like, what makes a relationship work is work. You know, the love that I have for my siblings, I love my siblings, but you know, I don't need to talk to them every day. I could probably go months or longer without chatting with them and know that they would be there for me if I needed them, and I would be there for them if they needed me. And that is a type of love and a care. It doesn't have quite the deep intimacy of relationship love. There's obsessive love, which is not really, there's a person that is a target, but they're not necessarily involved in that relationship. I don't think that could actually survive with being nurtured, because where the roots of it are not healthy. Is that anyone want to talk about my answer on that one or not? Or
I just want to add that I think I would say that companionship, like if you want a relationship where you're seeing the person often and you're in their space a lot and you're sharing a lot of things together, that can be something that needs to be nourished and communicated over a lot, because you're sharing space with somebody, and it needs to be nourished because you want a healthy environment. But you can love things that aren't in your environment, if that makes sense.
yes, okay, but the fact that you called it things, it makes it more of an object than an actual person.
Yeah, well, I guess I can love a city.
Right. All right.
And I can love another city and it's not in my environment. Anyway,
Right.
The word love is abstract.
It's a broad word.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. Our next question is what tips can you give for incorporating food play into sex? I'm rather famous for not being a fan of food play for some of the mess, but I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. I think being like talking it out first is great. I also say prepare your environment, because let's face it, no one wants to get, chocolate stains on their 300 or 800 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets, because that doesn't come out easy. But if you're going to be incorporating food play, like, discuss it with your partners, and then also be safe, because sugar getting into certain areas is not healthy. So cleanup can be very important. And there's tons of products that are out there, such as is it latex sheets? What are the sheets made out of? The rubber sheets.
Yeah, latex sheets.
Yeah,
Or you
which
can get...
make it easier for cleanup, and you don't have to worry about having a spoiled food smell in your mattress. So there's some options there, or ants crawling into your mattress. All right, I probably have given away my bias. Goddess Starla, your chance to answer that question.
When you can, stick a condom on it.
Yes. Vegetable play, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking I was thinking chocolate and cakes. So
Yeah. Well, but yeah, there's a variety.
And Wendy, you did a show earlier tonight. You said you might still have cake on you.
Yeah, I did a pie sitting. I think it depends on like how you want to incorporate the food into your play. Yeah, if you're gonna do like something introductory, cucumber, other phallic shaped objects are fantastic. Put a condom on them. You don't want any little bits being left in you that you don't know about, or like any weird infections. Avoid that as much as possible. You're going to want to stay safe. But, I don't know why you went straight to the mattress, love doctor, because of course you're not going to be playing around with something messy on your nice sheets. You're going to do that shit in the bathtub. You're going to find somewhere, throw a tarp down, whatever you want to be doing. I don't know. Maybe you want to do noodle play. Maybe you want to get a bath together and just boil a bunch of raw like noodles and do your thing. But it depends on how you want to incorporate it. But be safe with your holes and things, and clean up afterwards.
This is reminding me of one of my birthdays where I did wrestling with another girl, and we rubbed birthday cake all over each other, and I'm trying to think of how we cleaned that up.
Everybody loves
I think we had a tarp.
Tarps, kiddie pools. If you want to use some old sheets, really, if you put if you like cut open garbage bags and you like take them to the floor, and then you put your like blankets, nice things that you're okay washing, just be mindful of food coloring. It'll stain.
And group showers afterwards are always fun.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Can girls come more than once? I'm not saying they are faking, but sometimes I wonder.
Yes. And you don't need to wonder. You need to ask. Just ask if they did. I don't think it's a good sign if they're faking it. So you should probably have a conversation. But yes, we can.
Boom. Yes, and this is a warning statement to anyone out there who fakes an orgasm, regardless of gender or equipment. If you fake an orgasm, you are rewarding less than adequate behavior. Right? I can understand if you just kind of want it over and you never want to see that person again, say, "Oh no, sorry, I came, I'm too sensitive. Let's just cuddle," and then get out of there at your first chance. Fine, but never lie about having an orgasm if you want to have sex with that person again, because they'll wonder why they did the same things and you didn't even seem aroused the next time. All right, Goddess Starla.
Multiple orgasms are real, and it's a good thing. And I was told if you want to have a multiple orgasm, after you come the first time, to like pull away a little bit, but while you're still sensitive, to go back and sort of ride that wave again. And you can you can keep riding it like multiple
But-
times.
Multiple times. For men, there's the Tantric Method, which I'm not an expert of at all, but I have had what I would refer to as a dry orgasm. To have an orgasm, still remain hard and still be able to perform, but not ejaculate. So this can happen, and it's similar to the sensation of edging. It's just taking it a little bit further, which sounds a lot like what Goddess Starla was mentioning. Is that have we exhausted the orgasm question? All right, I see more questions have come in, but we also have one here from Steve. Hypothetical. So this happened to a friend. You heard this happened to a friend's cousin or something. All right. One purely by accident suffers an injury during dominant. Okay. One purely by accident suffers an injury during dominant submissive play and requires treatment in the ER. Does one tell the truth when asked how the injury occurred? Goddess Starla, you have the hot seat.
It's better. It's better to be honest, because it'll help get to the root of the problem. And they've heard everything. They've seen everything. I heard legendary stories of men going into the ER with like an orange up their butt, like just many different, like I think a toy car once, just a lot of different kinds of objects. And when you're there and it's your health on the line, just be honest.
Boom. Wendy.
I don't know why the first thing I automatically thought about was rope play and different types of suspension and stuff. But I think it's always better to be honest, because you don't know what critical point of information you may have to provide somebody who's trying to help you immediately receive physical care. And you never know what like small thing could be really important. So I think it's best to just be honest. It's honestly, what kind of lies would you think about so quickly? If I was in pain, I would not be thinking about that. I would just straight up say what happened and receive the care. Don't be worried about it. Your health is more important than anything that they could possibly think about you in that moment.
Boom. I think it's unanimous. Tell the truth. It was good answers by everybody involved, and I think that's important. All right. Well, all right. This is a little off topic with this question. Which Chris is the best? I guess this is the big Marvel Hollywood question. Hemsworth. Oh, Pine. Pine's not Marvel. All right. Hemsworth, Pine, Pratt, or Evans? I'm just going to say Pin Glover. Crispin Glover. I'm taking it old school. Because his middle name is Hellion. Anyone else has a Chris that's best?
I don't know who most of these people are.
Yeah, I would have to Google them. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, Chris Hemsworth played Thor.
Okay.
Chris Pine is the new Captain Kirk.
Star Trek, right?
Yeah. Chris Pratt is that Parks and Recs, and now he's Guardians of the Galaxy. And Chris Evans is Captain America.
Okay, Captain Kirk.
All right. I will judge you for that. And Wendy, do you have a Chris? See, I didn't limit myself to those Chris's. That's why I said Crispin Glover.
The one from Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. Super funny. Have you seen Parks and Rec? Like, phenomenal.
I think some of his politics might be problematic, but
I don't know about anything other than the acting. So
right.
I'm gonna stick with just the aspects of the acting. I don't know. I had to Google most of these people just then real quick.
Understood. Are we ready for the next question?
Fire away.
Can satisfaction with only one sexual partner be attainable? And I guess I'm answering it first. Yes. Takes work, takes communication, Not everyone, I think, is wired that way. But for those who it is wired that way, then yes, it is. Goddess Starla.
Yes. That's not what everyone is looking for. But I would say yes.
Wendy.
Yes, it is very attainable. I think that you just need to work at it, and make sure that you're with somebody who also wants that.
Sustainable, I think, is the key word in that question, because that means it's an ongoing thing, and ongoing relationships need work to survive. All ongoing relationships really need work to survive. And that's where communication comes in. Next question. As a guy, I find women piercing her body is kind of disgusting, especially on their lips. All right. Thank you for being rude. Do women do this because they think guys like it, or is it just for the decoration? All right, Wendy, you get to rip a new asshole on this person before I do.
I don't know. I did this thing here because I liked it. To be honest, there was a point where I got both the top and the bottom pierced because I just liked the sound of smacking them off each other. Not really for any particular reason other than I just kind of like to do whatever I like to do. And the only times that people have complained about my piercings, who have been intimate enough to experience them in that way, I have broke up with if they have complained. So I don't know. I like the jewelry of my body, and I pierced my lip because I wanted to. I guess it's decoration, my personal celebration. I don't know. I think you go through a lot of personal growth when you go through pain, and for me, I really liked getting piercings because it was a growth thing. But I pierced my lip because I wanted to.
Boom. All right. Public service announcement. Public service announcement. People do not do things for you. Not everything people do is for you. And that's okay. Now, people who get piercings probably get piercings because they want to. People who get piercings for other people usually regret getting the piercings. So let's just understand completely that if you find it disgusting, well, that is your taste. And you don't have to date these people because you are obviously not in the right mindset to do so. People do not do, like, everything else that other people do is not for you. Boom.
Think about a woman who gets her lip pierced and then another woman who gets her lip pierced, and they do it because they like it and it's hot, and then they kiss and feel each other's lip ring. And it's hot as fuck. And it's something you will never understand because you think it's disgusting. But when they kiss, they are so fucking turned on. And it's this furnace fire that you will never understand.
All right. I try not to be rude or mean to people who ask questions, but I think that one deserved a little bit of rudeness. And I think we all showed a bit of restraint. So person with the piercing. Steve has given us a follow-up question. Just to follow up on the ER question. There is a danger of being suspected of spousal abuse and all the trouble that can entail. So sorry to be dark about this. So going to the ER with a DS or a DS or a MS. Why did you it's discipline, not domination. So yeah, going to an injury from submissive play. So just to follow up on that previous question, there is the danger of being suspected of spousal abuse and all the trouble that can actually contain. So, Goddess Starla, what is your take on that? This is about admitting to the doctors the reason for the injury.
Well, sometimes you can tell the injury just to see it. If you want to avoid that, if you're in a healthy relationship and you both want to come up with a story, that's your situation. there's so many different situations, like with going to the ER with like different bruises, different injuries. It's better to be honest, so that way you can actually treat the injury. And sometimes it's going to look like what it is. So like lying wouldn't really improve the situation. But I think if you're supporting the other person, it's not going to be an issue.
Boom. Wendy.
I think that it depends on how your comfort level, but I think I'm going to stick with my original answer that being honest is probably the best. Like play isn't uncommon. Injuries from play aren't uncommon. And I think there's a chance that there's somebody who has walked into, a medical office before, or like an ER, probably with a similar scenario. So being honest about it is probably going to be helpful. I feel like a lot of times, hopefully there are somebody trained there who is, able to look out for signs of abuse and be able to follow up. And hopefully that situation, being honest with it, will help any doubt that may come from that.
Boom. I'm doubling down on being honest as well, mainly because a lot of these people do have sort of like they have training in detecting lies. So if they think you've lied about it, then that's going to make them more suspicious that it's abuse. So if you are honest about it, they still may separate the two of you and question you individually. And it's just so much easier to keep the story straight if you're telling the truth. And that will alleviate the suspicion that of spousal abuse at that point. I would say most probably. Lying would probably just aggravate the suspicion. That's just my take, but I do believe. Now, I was married to a wonderful woman who went out drinking with her friends. She fell. She broke her arm while she was out with her friends. I met her at the hospital. It was like a over 20-hour ordeal to get. It was her hand that broke, one of her metacarpals, and so she ended up getting a cast, and she was a person of color. And walking with me, I got so many dirty looks because she was in a cast. So there's got to be people who are going to think it's spousal abuse anyways. So be honest with the doctor to get the best treatment you can at the time. So I consider that to be a bit of a funny story, but everybody's stone facing me tonight. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm not as charming as I normally am. But we have more questions. Let's try to get through all of these questions. What is it called when people dress up like and act like animals, not the mascot type, but the people on leashes and stuff? I'm in the hot seat. Okay, there. Not the mascot type. I think the mascot type refers to furries, so you're saying not furries. So I'm going to say pet play. People who are doing pet play. That is what it's called. To my understanding of your description of the question. Got it, Starla?
Yeah, it's pet play.
All right. Wendy.
I'm just gonna go with the same answer because that's what it is.
There we are. That was a nice and easy one to do. What are we on? Okay, we're doing good time. We have 4 or 5 more questions left. Please remember to donate to the channel. It's the link tree. I'm just going to run that one on the bottom, but we can still take more questions into the chat and into the Slido. But the donate link is running at the bottom for you to look at. So please remember to donate. And our next question is, does astrology mean anything when it comes to dating? Does astrology mean anything when it comes to dating? Wendy.
I I think so. I don't necessarily think that it's something that you should like walk around and ask people their sign. But I think that the few times that I've been with a partner and we've looked up more things about our charts, a lot of things make sense. A lot of things make sense, but I also very much so am somebody who will believe what they're reading and find relations in that anyway. So I want to believe, so I feel like I do.
The want to believe.
Mhm.
I have an amazing story. I'm gonna say I think a lot of astrology is written vague enough that people can assign meaning to it. At the same time, years ago when I was doing radio, there was a community radio. There was a young woman who had a show about Wicca, who was doing the show, and they were doing the show before mine for a while, and we chatted, we hung out, and after they moved their show to another time, they would still come in and visit me, and we got along very well. And then she asked me for my birth date. She wanted to do up my star chart. So I got her my birth date and my birth hour and location, and I never saw her again.
I think it's just something fun. And it's like a basis for quirks and characteristics that different people have. But it's nothing that I would like take seriously or read into too much. Some people are very particular about astrology. I think it's just an open-minded, fun thing. And you get to develop your logics of the universe and things like that. But really reading into it and picking apart, I think, is unfair.
Boom. I think it's unfair to judge people without meeting them as well.
Yeah.
Like without getting to try to know them. If you just go, oh, you were born on that date, I'm not touching you.
Yeah, people get weird.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have 2 questions left, unless we get some more questions that come in. I want to thank everybody who's asked questions, but we have a couple questions left, and please don't forget to donate to the channel. First question here is, lockdown has me feeling all kinds of ways, not horny at all. Why does stress do this to me? Goddess Starla.
I think this is a really normal response. I know my sex drive has really gone down during the pandemic, and I think it's just I'm thinking about self-preservation and hiding and just hibernating and staying alive, and that's a priority for me. um, I just haven't been on dating apps or anything like that, and it's just not a good time. I think it's normal to kind of shut down and just focus on your own safety. Um, with the flip side of that, some people are indoors and they're very frisky. I think it's a spectrum of like both the opposites with this. But I think kind of shutting down and just focusing on your safety is a really normal thing.
Well said. Wendy.
Yeah, when you're thinking about covering your basic needs, like making sure that you have shelter, like consistent income to get food and pay your bills, I think that that will definitely take, precedence over a lot of other primal instincts to be sexual. Some people may find it a good stress release, but it makes a lot of sense if you're feeling that the stress is overbearing and that you're not, horny, as you say. It definitely making sure that all your needs are met. The basic ones are important, and I hope that you take comfort in hearing us say that it's not just you out there who's probably feeling like this. I know that like I'm a lot more of a sexual person in a persona than I am in an everyday life. And the pandemic again has like hit my depression hard. So don't be too hard on yourself if that's like not something that your body is doing right now. If you're keeping safe and like mentally sane, I'm happy your body is doing that for you. But yeah, don't feel too bad and take comfort in knowing that you're not alone in that.
Boom. Well said, both of you. I would have to say, like, a lot of anxiety comes from being on the fight or flight, like the apex, where you have those two choices in front of you, and with the pandemic, with the fear of the unmasked, the fear of COVID, the fear of socializing in groups, you're going to have a sustained moment of being on fight or flight because it's something beyond our lizard brain of being capable to recognize. But a lot of your energy is being put into those two options, and so a lot of other things get put aside, and that's why you're not feeling the libido that you once did. If you're lucky enough to be quarantined or sequestering with a partner, there are ways to sort of help build your libido back, and a lot of that relies on the two of you working to feel safe together. So cuddling is actually a good way to deal with the anxiety and to feel safe again. I just want to stress that as an option. If you're not with your partner, take the time to breathe, work on anti-anxiety. The Quebec healthcare will take care of people with anxiety. Most other provinces will as well. Find somebody that you can talk to. Wendy had mentioned the text and the call-ins. So wherever you are in the world, there's probably a call-in line for you, because this is an unprecedented time and people need to be in contact, be it physical or otherwise, to sort of reduce this anxiety with contact with people you trust. And I do, you know what? I think, in a lot of horror movies, like with Jason and whatnot, if those teenagers had felt the anxiety that was building, then maybe they would have survived, because, if they have sex, they get killed in those movies. Just saying, just saying, it's also when there's the release of anxiety, that's usually when people find that their libido comes back with a baseball bat to the knees. Just wanted to take you down.
When you can find a safe outlet,
Yes.
I think it's just about knowing when to engage again.
Boom. Steve is popped in to say you guys are fabulous, both entertaining and informative. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Steve.
much for tuning in. And we have one last question at this point, unless something else pops up. But we've been close to 90 minutes on the air, so let's bring up this last question. What advice would you give an asexual partner wanting to satisfy the partner sexually? What advice would you give an asexual partner wanting to satisfy the partner asexually? Oh, and I'm in the hot seat. This is difficult. I understand if somebody is asexual, they don't have sexual desire themselves, but I understand being in a relationship, you want to see that your partner is fulfilled. There is the idea of a surrogate, giving them the option of a surrogate. There is finding other ways to sort of feed their libido while staying comfortable with yourself. A lot of that has to do with communication, maybe finding something, giving them the private time they need to deal with things themselves, or giving them inspiration that doesn't compromise or doesn't make you feel icky. So if you are ever with a partner who is sort of trying to pressure you into sex, that's not a good partner. I mean, there's a thing between asking and there's a thing between pressure. And pressure is a bad thing. Goddess Starla.
I'm going to go with that, where there shouldn't be the pressure, and I wouldn't worry about satisfying them sexually, because if you're asexual, that's that's not why you're there. But if you have a surrogate or someone else involved in the relationship, I would say give them space, but It has to be with what you're comfortable with. So I would say it shouldn't necessarily be your worry.
Boom.
Yeah, I very much so agree that there's many different situations that you could talk about, but if you're meeting somebody and you are expressing to them that you have, you know, little interest in that side of the relationship and being intimate, then you can very much still find other ways to be intimate that aren't necessarily sexual. But if you're open to sharing your partner in that regard, and if they're looking for satisfaction more sexually, then yeah, definitely talk about the other options that you have. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like the end all of the relationship.
Boom. And I do want to stress, I do know of some people who come out as asexual later in life, or after they've already been in a relationship. And so it's not like the person getting into the relationship with them was blindsided. I mean, you know, it's being sort of sprung. Sprung is probably the wrong word, but it's being introduced to them later in the relationship. But if a person is with you, they love you, and that is all of you, and through the changes you go through. So again, communication is key, and also making sure that your boundaries feel respected. We got happy faces here. We everyone we're off to I guess the end of the night. Just double checking that no new questions have come in. No new questions have come in. But I do want to thank my wonderful guests. Of course, there is Wendy Bonbons, aka cosmic.bonbons on Instagram. Do you have now? You have your regular show, which is at 7 p.m. Newfoundland time, in on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that's every Sunday that show is. Do you have anything else coming up that you would like to advertise?
No, if you'd like to hop on the show sometime, shoot me a message. I love connecting with new artists.
Boom. And there's poetry, there's burlesque, there's comedy, there's music that happens on your show. It's a fantastic show. I do recommend checking it out. It's about an
Thank
hour
you.
every episode. And Goddess Starla Vamp, all one word on Instagram. So do you have anything coming up that you'd like to promote?
No, I don't.
No, but if you do, if either of you have anything else coming up, I'm sure it's going to be posted onto your Instagrams, so people will be able to contact you through there or get to see what's happening with you. So I do recommend following these two fantastic artists, and it's been an absolute pleasure sharing this evening with you. We have a comment coming in here. Denis Leger is saying, thanks for the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Merci, Denis. Thank you for tuning in. And I want to thank the audience, and I want to thank both of my special guests here tonight. It's been a pleasure. We are on season 2, episode 6, wrapping it up right now of the Love Doctor live stream with Wendy Bonbons and Goddess Starla Vamp. I'm the Love Doctor, and I love you all.